which is what if the Supreme Court rules against Trump? Because that's the tail risk.
I think that would be just one more negative for the long end of the U.S. Treasury curve.
Because they'd have to repay the hundreds of billions of dollars, but it's just gonna be more as chaotic as it's been.
A high-stakes and unusual bet is playing out on Wall Street. Several major investment banks are wagering that the U.S. Supreme Court will strike down the Trump-era tariffs, a move that would force the U.S. government to refund billions of dollars in collected duties. The conventional wisdom is that a Supreme Court ruling against the tariffs would be a clear positive for the markets. The logic is straightforward. Removing trade barriers would boost economic growth and benefit risk assets like stocks. However, renowned economists David Rosenberg and Jeffrey Gundlach, the new bond king, have introduced a counterintuitive yet profound insight. They argue that a ruling against the tariffs could, paradoxically, create even greater chaos and uncertainty. This surge in instability, they suggest, could actually be bad news for the markets.
The surprise between now and the end of the year that nobody's talking about is what, and I want to ask you, how would you change your mix, change your duration, change anything if this one thing happens, which is what if the Supreme Court rules against Trump on the tariffs? What if they side with the lower courts? What would you do if that happened? Because that's the tail risk.
I think that would be just one more negative for the long end of the U.S. Treasury curve.
Because they'd have to repay the hundreds of billions of dollars of the tariff money back that they were going to use.
I just think that the knee-jerk reaction of the market would probably be that it's going to be positive for economic growth if that happened.
I tend to think that it's going to unleash just a lot more uncertainty, because he's got other avenues that are going to be a lot sloppier. I mean, the broad-based tariffs come out, but he's going to find ways, because he's got, which he's already done with steel, aluminum, and lumber.
The one thing the tariffs are doing,
I think it's going to make it a lot more chaotic. I think the knee-jerk reaction is that this is bullish for risk-on assets, but I'm not so sure. I think it's going to cause more uncertainty, in my opinion. But then they're going to ask you.
I think there's reason to believe what you're saying and predicting, because when they announced the tariffs on April 2nd, there was massive uncertainty and a flash crash, just basically, on risk assets, and then people just didn't know what to make of it. And then there was the uncertainty because the numbers and the timing kept moving around. And I think that if that ruling came down the way you're saying, we would be in the same position. It would be a position of what does this mean?
Yeah.
And usually that just means, and when I think as a bond investor, I think people would say, we just lost $350 billion of revenue. So we just added $350 billion to the deficit. And, you know, what's going to be the counterplay from Trump?
Well, he's got probably 3 or 4 other avenues where he doesn't necessarily have to invoke whatever, national security. I'm sure that they're working on it behind the scenes, but it's just gonna be more as chaotic as it's been. I think what the market liked the fact that, up until today with China, the market liked the fact that we didn't go into a global trade war. People didn't go and start coming back with their own tariffs, and they went and said cap in hand to Trump. Okay, that's what happened. Everybody was nervous we're going to have a real global trade war, but it was just a one-sided trade war imposed by the U.S. And then what people didn't see was he's giving all these reprieve. And what does the U.S. get in return? Are all these deals. Now, I think they're phantom deals, but the market believes they're real. And that's what the market's liked about this whole tariff wars. We're getting deals. We're getting all this foreign direct investment, which is a fugazi. Anyway,
if they actually follow through on it.